My hands are trembling as I record this. The text before me is a 9th century Icelandic manuscript, the tale of Ragnar's sons. Written in Old Norse, the letters are faded, some words nearly illegible. But what it describes is perhaps one of the most horrific execution methods in history: the Blood Eagle. I am a historian. For 20 years I have been researching Viking history, their mythology, their warfare traditions, from museums in Oslo to archives in Reykjavik. From Viking remains in Dublin to excavations in York, I have followed the traces of this warrior people everywhere. And the Blood Eagle is the most controversial, most mysterious, and most bloody story I have encountered. Because this was not just an execution. It was a ritual, an offering to a god, and perhaps only a legend. Year 867, the shores of Northumbria, Ragnar Lodbrok, the legendary Viking king, a warrior who had made his name on sea voyages. His name was sung in songs told in epics. But that day his fate changed. A storm scattered his ships. Ragnar washed ashore with only a few men. King Ælla's army captured him, and Ælla wanted to send a message. He threw Ragnar into a pit filled with venomous snakes. According to the sagas, Ragnar sang as he fell into the pit. With his last breath, he called out to his sons, "The piglets would grunt if they knew what the boar suffers." An ominous yet chilling prophecy. Then he died. In darkness, in agony, poisoned. When the news reached across the sea, his sons gathered. Ivar the Boneless Ragnarsson called his brothers. Halfdan brought the weapons. Ubba prepared the ships. Sigurd assembled the army. Ivar's voice was cold, calculated. Our father's blood has been left unavenged. We will cleanse it with Ælla's blood. The saga tells that Ivar performed a ritual after these words. He offered sacrifice to Odin. He spilled blood. He asked for blessing for war. And Odin answered. Or so it was believed. The wind changed direction. The ships set sail, and a great army set out toward the shores of England. Thousands of Vikings would be known in history as the Great Heathen Army. Hundreds of ships, one purpose: revenge. From which city are you listening to this story? Please write in the comments. And do you think revenge can ever be legitimate? Autumn of 865. The city of York fell. The Vikings breached the walls. They fought in the streets. Blood flowed on the stone roads. Church bells were silenced. The city was plundered. And King Ælla was captured. He was put in chains, taken to a dark room in the palace. There Ivar was waiting. According to the saga, Ivar looked at Ælla for a long time in silence. Then he asked, "Do you remember my father?" Ælla did not answer. Perhaps he was afraid. Perhaps he was proud. Perhaps he knew his end had come. Ivar smiled. But this was not a smile of joy. This was a dark promise. "I will show you my father's death," but slower. The Blood Eagle ritual was not just an execution. According to the Vikings, this was an offering to Odin. Odin was the god of war, the god of death, the god of wisdom. And the eagle was his sacred animal. To execute an enemy with the Blood Eagle meant to offer him to Odin, to send his soul not to Valhalla, but to darkness. The ritual was performed in a very specific way, or so it was told. First, the victim was laid face down. His hands and feet were bound. His back was opened. Then, with a knife, the ribs were cut from the spine, one by one slowly, while the victim was still alive. The rib bones were opened outward, like wings, and then the lungs. The lungs were pulled out through the back. Still working, still breathing lungs. They were spread over the wings. The resulting image resembled an eagle. An eagle with spread wings, bloody, horrific, dedicated to a god. But did it really happen this way? That is the question, because there is no archaeological evidence. In no grave has any trace of the Blood Eagle been found. No bone has shown this type of cutting. The sagas were written hundreds of years later, in the 13th century, in Iceland, 300–400 years after the events. And the sagas were not history books, they were storybooks. Legend, fact, propaganda, all were mixed together. Some historians say the Blood Eagle never happened. This is a legend, a story invented to show Vikings as barbarians, because Christian sources wanted to portray Vikings as barbarians, heathens, monsters. The more horrific they showed them, the more meaningful Christianity's victory would be. The Blood Eagle was perfect propaganda. Look what these heathens did! But other historians say the Blood Eagle was really performed. Perhaps rarely, perhaps only in special cases, but not completely fabricated, because the Vikings' other rituals were also brutal. They offered human sacrifices. They made drinking cups from their enemies' skulls. They made tools from their bones. Why should the Blood Eagle be different? I, as a historian, think this. The truth is in the middle. The Blood Eagle was perhaps really performed, but very rarely, only for the greatest enemies, the greatest betrayals, the greatest moments of revenge, because this was not a practical execution. This was a symbolic execution, a message to the gods, to enemies, and to their own people. Those who touch us die like this. If you liked the video, please like it. If you follow, I will share more dark history stories. About Ælla's end, there are different accounts. According to the saga, Ivar executed Ælla with the Blood Eagle, slowly, in agony. Ælla's screams echoed through the streets of York, but the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle says something different. It writes that Ælla was simply killed, gives no detail, does not mention the ritual. Perhaps it was too horrific, they didn't write it. Perhaps it never happened. Perhaps the truth was lost. But there are other stories that mention the Blood Eagle. In 864, King Edmund was captured by Vikings. He did not renounce his Christian faith. One of the Vikings tied him to a tree and filled him with arrows. Some sources say the Blood Eagle was also applied to Edmund, but this is disputed. In 867, King Osbert of Northumbria was killed by Vikings. Some sources claim this ritual was also applied to him, but again, there is no definitive proof. The language of the Blood Eagle is very interesting. The word blodern consists of the Old Norse words for blood and eagle, but some linguists say this may be a translation error. Perhaps not Blood Eagle, but blood-eagled, meaning made into a bloody eagle. Perhaps something completely different. Perhaps the ritual was performed differently. Perhaps just cutting the back and leaving it. Perhaps just opening the ribs without removing the lungs. Or perhaps it was not physical at all. Perhaps it was just a poetic expression, meaning we destroyed the enemy like an eagle. But in Viking culture, the eagle was very important. Odin had two ravens, Hugin and Munin. Thought and memory. Every day they flew over the world bringing news to Odin. But Odin also had an eagle. In legends, it was said that Odin could shapeshift. Sometimes he would become an eagle and fly through the sky. The eagle was a symbol of power, a symbol of freedom, and a symbol of death. To turn an enemy into an eagle, was it giving him a final honor or a final insult? Write in the comments, do you think the Blood Eagle was really performed, or was it just a legend? After conquering England, Ragnar's sons separated. Ivar went to Ireland. There he founded Dublin. He ruled for years. Halfdan stayed in Northumbria. He took land. He established Viking settlements. Ubba and Sigurd went on other expeditions to France, to Scotland, everywhere. But none of them forgot Ragnar, and none of them forgot revenge. Centuries later, the Blood Eagle became legendary. In the 13th century, when the sagas were being written in Iceland, the Blood Eagle story was enlarged, detailed, dramatized, because the saga writers wanted to impress their listeners. Horrific stories attracted the most interest, and the Blood Eagle was a perfect story, merciless, bloody, unforgettable. Today, the Blood Eagle lives on in popular culture. In the Vikings series, Ragnar's death and Ivar's revenge are depicted. The Blood Eagle scene is shown very graphically. In video games, in films, in books, the Blood Eagle is everywhere, but is it real legend? We still don't know. Archaeologists are still searching. Excavations are being conducted in York. Graves are being examined in Northumbria. Bones are being analyzed in Viking settlements. Perhaps one day a bone will be found, with cuts on the back, ribs opened, and then we will know the truth. But so far there is silence. As I tell you this story, I am thinking something. Whether the Blood Eagle is real or not, one truth exists. people do terrible things for revenge. Or imagine terrible things, and sometimes imagination is more powerful than reality, because Ælla perhaps did not die by the Blood Eagle. Perhaps he was just killed simply. But the legend lived for centuries. The story was passed down from generation to generation, and every time it was told, enemies trembled. They feared the Vikings. This is the true power of the Blood Eagle, not physical, but psychological. Ragnar Lodbrok's story did not end with revenge. His sons did not just kill Ælla, they conquered Northumbria. They took East Anglia, they plundered Mercia. Half of England came under Viking control. A region called the Danelaw was established. Viking laws, Viking culture, Viking language, everything became Viking, and the beginning of this was Ragnar's death. A revenge turned into an empire. There is one more thing about Ælla's final moments. According to the saga, with his last breath, Ælla said, "If the piglets had known what the young would do," he repeated Ragnar's last words, as if a curse had returned. When Ivar heard this, he laughed, a cold laugh. The piglets knew, and the young came. The legacy of the Blood Eagle is not just fear, it is also a warning. Revenge is cyclical. Someone is killed, his son takes revenge. He is killed, his son takes revenge. Ragnar was killed by Ælla. Ælla was killed by Ragnar's sons. Then they too by others. The cycle never ended. The Viking Age ended in the 11th century. Christianity spread to Northern Europe. Vikings were baptized. Temples were converted into churches. And rituals like the Blood Eagle were banned, viewed as barbarism, a past to be forgotten. But it was not forgotten because human nature did not change. The desire for revenge still exists. Violence still exists. And sometimes the darkest past is the brightest mirror. If this story affected you, please like and follow. Write in the comments. Which dark history story would you like to hear? Which forgotten ritual, which lost legend? Because I am a historian, my duty is to tell the past, whether beautiful or ugly, to remind the forgotten, to bring shadows to light. See you in the next video. Don't forget history, because history is not just the past. It is the mirror of today and the warning of the future. And the Blood Eagle teaches us this: revenge is not a solution. It is only a new beginning of a new pain.